This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. This is the Fast Break Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. Alongside me, as always, is Ricky Widmer.
What's up, guys?
And Dave Oster.
Hey, everybody.
And today is NBA Draft Day. We just finished up a 4-hour live stream covering the first and a little bit of the second round on twitch.tv/MostValuable. We want to give a shout out to everybody that was in there. We had over pretty much 100 people consistently. We maxed out at 140. It was an absolute blast to have everybody in there. So shout out to all of you guys that were in there and girls that were in there. We appreciate all of your support. It was an absolutely fun time. And we have a loaded podcast for you. We're going to have Dave on for a segment to talk about the best and worst drafts to kick off the podcast, and then we are going to go and talk about the fall of the night in Bull is now a Nugget after being selected by the Heat with the 44th pick and then traded to the Nuggets. Then we'll talk about who had a better draft, the Hawks or the Pelicans. We'll probably talk about them as well in the first segment as well. Then we'll talk about Kobe White. Was he the right pick for the Chicago Bulls? Dave and Ricky are Bulls fans. We'll get Ricky's side. Ricky not a fan of the pick. I am a fan of the pick, at least from a bystander. Then the Celtics, did they have a bad draft? Got a lot of crap in the Discord and also or in the Twitch, and then also Bill Simmons, Celtics fan, was not a fan on Twitter of their draft. And then finally, we'll wrap it up with, does Mike Conley make the Jazz a title contender? A trade that happened before the NBA draft, but we should cover it since we are an NBA podcast, and it at least dealt with the draft as the Grizzlies got that pick from the Jazz and then moved up and took Brandon Clark. But we'll get to that in the segment. But before we do all that stuff and before I let Ricky jump in, check out Discord or check out patreon.com/mostvaluable. You can check it out. We have a Discord that's popping off right now. You can join it for $1 a month on patreon.com/mostvaluable.
Retro asking about who's Terrence Mann? Like, Clipper fan needs to know who they drafted.
Yeah, Florida State guard. Then with the $5 tier, you can ask us some questions, suggest a topic for a podcast, and then finally, you can join us for $10, and you can join us on a podcast. I know John's going to be joining us soon to talk about the Suns pick of Cameron Johnson. But boys, let's jump into it after we plug Patreon, after we plug Twitch.
The thing I wanted to add about Twitch really quick, because it was a great stream tonight.
Oh, subscribers?
4.5 hours. We averaged 114, maxed out at 157.
Literally what Sean said.
736 unique viewers.
Wow.
And you can now subscribe to Most Valuable Podcast. 1,368 live views for us tonight.
That's pretty
That's
crazy.
awesome. So thank you guys so much for making it a great night on twitch.tv/mostvaluable.
4 subscribers. Thank you for all the people who subbed tonight.
4?
Yes, it says 4 new subscriptions.
Well, we missed one of them. We
That's
know
what it
Dave's
says.
one of them. We know Jake's one of them. We know Ben's one of them.
It says on our live stream report, it says we got 4 new subscriptions tonight.
Dope.
Well, we'll figure it out.
Dave, dope.
Anyways, let's now move into the topic at hand, and that is the best and worst draft. So let's jump into it. Guys, let's start with the best side. Let's start off positive. A lot of good drafts to talk about. Pels and Hawks, obviously one of them. But in your opinion, Dave, who came out of this on top? Who had the best draft when you look at all the players they selected or player that they selected?
This is tough. I love 3 different teams out of this grouping. The one that I'm going to have to go with, it seems cheesy, but it's going to be the Grizzlies. I absolutely adore they got lucky. Let's put it that way. They got lucky with John Morant. That was the big key to success.
How'd they get lucky?
Getting the number 2 pick. It wasn't, that was
So lottery-wise.
They got lucky with the lottery. Not rigged. Not rigged. It worked out the way it should. Still on it. Yeah, I absolutely love him. I think he's going to be an absolute stud. And then we saw later on, I know we'll hit the Mike Conley thing, but they did end up with Grayson Allen as a filler piece from that trade. And as well, they added another piece in this draft, and I'm already at the point of the night where I don't remember names.
Brandon
Clark, who was only the second most productive player in college basketball this past year. Yes, he doesn't have a great wingspan to him, but he has incredible defensive instincts. He's 6'8" with a 6'8" wingspan. We don't know at the NBA level if he's going to be playing more of a 4 or a 3. There's rumors of him, trying to work on his shot so he can improve his spacing, but you're going to get a guy who has had an improved game year over year over year, and I absolutely love his fit on this team defensively with he and Jaren Jackson Jr. together on the court is terrifying to other teams. Everything is getting swatted. Everything.
Ricky, who came out of this the best?
So I'm bouncing around from two teams, and the one that I think I'm going to lean towards is the Pelicans. And the reason why it was either them or the Celtics. And the Pelicans, a little bit kind of like what Dave said with the Grizzlies. You lucked into it a little bit. You won the lottery. You got Zion Williamson. But not just that. You make a deal with the Hawks. You get the 8th pick, which you get Jackson Hayes, which, cool. Helps you out. You needed a center. You traded Anthony Davis. You might lose Julius Randle in free agency. And then with the 17th pick that they got from the Hawks, they get Nickeil Alexander-Walker. 3 guys, Zion, Jackson, and Nickeil, that I think can help this team on top of what they got with B.I. and Lonzo in that Laker deal, to where this is a team where I think now the ceiling is maybe they compete for the 8th seed in the playoffs, but this is definitely now a good young team that could develop with Drew Holiday being their main veteran, unless we see after this season if they decide to trade him. But that's a story for a different day.
Yeah, I agree with you at least. Pelicans, it's hard not to say winner if you're getting Zion Williamson. You're getting the best player in this draft class, so it's tough for them not to be a winner in that one. And then I agree with you as well. I think that team did a fantastic job. I forgot what team you said, but I know they did
Grizzlies.
The Grizzlies. I know they did a fantastic job.
They got 2 of my favorite
Ja
players.
Morant, technically that's the second best player too, so congratulations.
Yep.
It's tough to screw that up, but getting Brandon Clark as well fell a little bit, but 21, that was a well-worth pick.
Absolutely.
And you see the defense that could be out there. When you roll Jaren Jackson out there, he might not be the biggest. He might not be able to be on the floor a ton just because of foul trouble.
He works on that.
He'll work on that. He's still super young. And you get Brandon Clark, who is a phenomenal defender. And Ja projects to be a decent defender if he's able to at least add some bulk to himself.
But offensively.
Offensively is where he's going to make his money. I'm going to go with the Heat. I think they had a pretty good draft. They didn't get a point guard, which I was a little sour on. But we kind of expected them to take a 2-guard, whether that be Langford, whether that be Kevin Porter Jr. They end up going Tyler Hero, but I still like that pick a lot.
Yeah.
You're surrounding point guard Justice Winslow with shooters, along with Josh Richardson. You can add another shooter next to him as well, which would be big. And then they went and got KZ Okpala with the 32nd pick, and I think that's a fantastic pick. They traded up. They trade, I think, 3 future second rounders to get that pick. But KZ Okpala was a guy that I was pretty high on. I had him as a first round grade, and getting him and letting him kind of grow in that culture could be huge, because Justice was obviously able to show his playmaking abilities, and KZ Okpala grew up as a guard, hit a major growth spurt, and this is a team that's all about making sure your body fat's low and building up muscle. And that's what KZ Okpala needs. He needs to be in that culture. He needs to build up more. And I think if he's able to do that and work on his facilitating game, he could be a very dangerous prospect at 6'9" with that length. So I really like the Heat's draft. They almost also got Bol too, but they traded him to Denver. Denver had a nice draft too. I didn't want to go with Pelicans, obviously.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go with Memphis.
No, that's fair. We did cherry pick the top of the draft.
I thought you were going to go with a different team, Sean.
Atlanta?
No, I thought you were going to go with Detroit. Because they got your boy, they got your boy, Davidas Servitas. I don't know.
He's one of my
Is he
favorite.
going to come over, or is he a draft and stash?
Not 100% locked in one way or the other.
And I like
feel
Isaiah
draft and
Roby
stash.
in the second round as well.
I don't dislike the Servitas pick at all. I like that pick. I obviously love the
Sekou.
The Sekou pick. The one iffy part about that, though, was then going Roby. I don't think you needed another 3. That was my personal thing. I would rather them go a point guard in that spot, mostly a Tremont Waters. I thought that would be a better pick for them. They didn't go with that, so I was a little confused on that.
Because they are adding Tony Snell via the Bucks trade that they made.
Yeah, but he's not a point guard.
He's a wing, though.
Yeah, so he's another wing. So I don't think that's
They're
the smartest.
They're stockpiling wangs.
Yeah, but they got Blake Griffin, who, hey, maybe he's going to average 8 assists next year.
Jeez.
But yeah, that was the one thing that kind of soured me, but I still think they had a good draft. But if I had to say best draft, that obviously wasn't the Pelicans or Grizzlies, I would go towards Miami. And then I think throwing in Atlanta too, getting DeAndre Hunter would be big, and getting Cam Reddish also big as well. And I would throw in Minnesota too. Getting Jarrett Culver, I think, was a fantastic pickup. And they got a guy that I like too in Jalen Noel from Washington. I think he's going to be a very good scoring guard. So I think those 3 teams I would give props to, but if I had to pick one, I'd go Miami. Let's go to the fun part, though, where we get to bash teams. We're the worst draft.
I'm going to go with one that you're probably not going to expect, the Oklahoma City Thunder. And the reason why I'm going to say this is that the one you were going to say, Dave?
No, I completely disagree with you.
The reason why I say the Thunder is because they make a trade with the Grizzlies to bounce back to 23.
Yeah.
And the thing that has been reported by Woj and Sham, the two guys on the stream, Dave said, unless it comes from those two, don't believe it.
Damn right.
Well, it came from Woj or Sham. That they wanted to move back, get second-round picks, because they wanted to free up some cap space. There were guys like Roberson, Adams, Schroeder, all on the board. Take them if you want them. We need cap space. And to take Darius Bazley at 23. I'm not saying Bazley's the bad pick about this. Mm-hmm. For me, this is a fail. It's not many times we get to say this. I said this is a fail for Sam Presti because you came in with one goal in mind to free up cap space by getting second rounders instead of a first, and you couldn't do that. With that being said, this is a fail by the Thunder.
What I disagree with that because that was reported, but that's 100% not necessarily true. The Thunder didn't come out and say we need to free up cap space. So we could have gotten possibly an idea where Presti went to his owner and said, hey, we're not going to be able to do that. Can we go over the luxury tax? And he got okay from his ownership. If he did, then it doesn't matter. And he went out and got the best player who he thought in his mind was going to help his team. And Bazley is a very interesting prospect, a former 5-star recruit, a very tall player at 6'9", and possibly a playmaker as well at that wing position. I think that's a very interesting pick for them. And although they might not have traded back, I think it's a pretty good get for them at 23.
Well, and the thing is, I am saying it's...
They also traded back and still got a future pick
I'm saying it's a bad pick, mainly because of, like I said, what the goal was. And if they couldn't make a trade, it's true. Presti could have went to the owner and said, hey, I can't get something to work. Can we go over the luxury tax? And if you're the owner, you're sitting there going, well, okay, like, what else are you going to say? No, we can't, and you can't find a trade? Like, you got to pick someone. If you can't, I get that it was probably a sticky situation. I would love to hear what it was like. Could they have found a trade? Were there talks for that 23 after they made that trade? For me, if you wanted to free up cap space and you wanted second rounders, why would you make a pick unless you absolutely have to? That's what I want to know.
Then come July 6th when the new year starts and you roll over, maybe teams, when they have freed up cap space, will be more willing to take on Steven Adams' contract, and then you can free up cap space. Maybe it's just not the right time now to do so, and I don't think it's that bad of a get from Presti. Presti has proven that he's been able to put together a playoff team around Russell Westbrook. He's been able to prove that he can go out in the draft and find players that are at least interesting. You know, he hasn't been dealing with, top picks like James Harden, Russell Westbrook, and Kevin Durant for a while, but he's been going out and getting guys that have a lot of potential and a lot of raw athleticism. Hamidou Diallo, Terrence Ferguson, now Bazley as well. I think it's a pretty good pick for them. And again, they didn't pick at the slot they were slotted to at 21. They moved back to 23 and got a future 2024 second-round pick, but still, you got something to move back and still get your guy. I don't think it's a bad draft for them at all.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think you just go for pure upside. At that point, he was on the board. He was their guy. And I understand timeline might not be great, but they still have time. They're not under the gun to get, all the cap space cleared up to this point. You're going to pay the luxury tax. Yes, it's just a matter of how much are you going to eat. And you still got a couple of days. I don't think there's any rush to, trade back tonight just because the difference between a first round at 21, 24 versus a second rounder. No, I'm not even worried about that. I'm expecting the Thunder to not be able to, like you mentioned hey, they can move a guy. I don't think they do. I think they keep it, and it's like, that's why I'm saying I just don't like it. I didn't like the plan from the Thunder from what I heard leading up to the draft. Fair enough. I'm taking the easy layup on this one, Sean. Thanks for tossing the softball to me. It's the Phoenix Suns. What the fuck did you do?
Sorry, John.
What did you do, John? What did Z? I'm sorry. We need to find Z. Can anybody find Z?
Where's Z?
Thank you.
Ja's in New Orleans.
Cam Johnson. All right, let's start where this all started. Number 6 pick. They were like, great. The Timberwolves want to trade up, and we get Dario Saric. So we get a 4 who can score, who can pass, he can do a little bit of everything for us. He's a good player, not the best defender, but he'll try. Great value, maybe. When I see 6 and I see Kobe White on the board and on the Suns, do I want to move back? I don't. I personally don't. But they had different plans in mind. And we'll get to that in a sec. So they're like, cool. Timberwolves, we'll do the deal. We'll move back. We'll take an established player. We'll get a 4 who is going to be our guy. And then they go at 11. And there's plenty of talent still on the board at 11. And they reach on Cam Johnson. Now, I say reach on Cam Johnson because no one outside of John, our Patreon sub, J-Dub, shout out to you, had him going anywhere above or anywhere sooner than 20, I believe.
He had him
Every
13
mock,
to the Heat.
Yeah, every other mock was 20 plus because he is a multi-year college player. He's a good shooter. He's a decent defender. He's a good wing, but he's also like 22, 23, whatever his age is at this point.
He's going to be 28 when his rookie contract ends.
Insane. Absolutely insane. So that we were all confused. Just this draft was mind-boggling. It was insane from the get-go. But that pick just really set everything off because I just don't understand how you can turn the number 6 pick when you have the option to get a point guard like Kobe White, who I know we've kind of argued is he a combo guard? Truly, can he be a great fit with Devin Booker? I don't know. That's we'll never know. But they did go back at 24, traded up to get that 24th pick from the Boston Celtics, right?
24th, yeah.
Yep.
Celtics.
And
No, Celtics were at 20 and 22. So 24 was the Sixers.
Which
I'm looking it up.
they got from the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, because the Sixers made the
Because that was the
Thibault
Matisse
trade.
Thybulle trade.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
So, Ty Jerome with that selection. Jerome at that point, yeah, he's a good player. He was a older veteran point guard, played through the tourney, tons of tape on him. I feel like they just took the draft strategy of pick the safest possible route, get the guys who are proven veterans, and don't, in my opinion, don't have a ton of upside still left on their end. And you're a team that's just bad. You're real bad. You've been real bad. And it might be frustrating because you guys keep striking out in the draft. In the past, you had that double power forward draft with Dragon Bender, Marquise Chris. You've had a couple other guys that haven't panned out great. But I feel like this is like a reactionary to the other end. You're like, we want established talent. We want older veterans coming out of college. And we can't miss on these guys. You also can't hit a home run on these guys either. That's my concern. I don't know how much this is going to shift you forward in the Western Conference.
Here's the only thing I can think of. And I want to say, not in love with the pick, but I'm going to do the same thing like I did on the live stream when Sean said he hated the Warrior pick. I'm going to try to come from the other side and kind of see what they were thinking. And one of the things that James Jones, GM, I believe GM, quote me if I'm wrong,
You're right.
of the Suns said on the radio in Phoenix before the draft is that their average age, I want to say he said was 22. So I wonder if that played into it, where he talked about the point guard position.
That had to be their starters because the Bulls were younger at 24. Bulls were the youngest team on.
And then Jamal Crawford on
the
that
point,
Suns team.
I'll pull it up in a second and fact check the age, but his point is we're a young team. And he was talking about the point guard position and how, they might not want to go with a younger point guard because they need veterans on this team.
Yeah.
And the only thing I can think of, and you can kind of say the same with Ty Jerome in a sense, but more so with Cameron Johnson, is I wonder if this was hey, we really like Brandon Clark. We really like Cam Johnson. Cam Johnson is a better shooter. Brandon Clark is great, but he's not that great of a shooter compared to Cam Johnson. And they wanted to add an older player because of where their average team is, and they didn't want to add like an 18-year-old, 19-year-old who's going to be below that age and needs to develop into where the players are already at.
Brandon Clark is older. Brandon Clark was, I think, a 4-year
But he's
guy.
not a shooter.
That's what I'm saying.
True, but if between those two, age isn't really a difference. It's just the shooting. But the problem that I have with that pick is you could have traded back and helped your team out more and possibly loaded up more assets. Cam Johnson was not worth the 11th pick. The Heat weren't going to take him. I think they probably had Hero as a better prospect. Most people did.
Yep.
I don't think that the Celtics were going to go be an eyeing at him at the 14th pick either. I probably think they were going to be looking for Romeo Langford.
Yep.
Same with the Hornets too. I think they're probably looking PJ Washington. They'd probably be iffy, but I don't see a reason why they'd go after Cam Johnson. Even then, just look at PJ Washington, the guy who went right behind him. He's a better player. He's younger, and he gives you shooting at that position. I just don't get it. He's stronger too. There's a lot of concern about Cam Johnson, who's had multiple surgeries. Why would you go with him at 11? That's the worst pick in my mind.
Yeah.
I balance, the bad Jordan Poole pick, but again, you could have moved back and still made that pick.
Yep.
The Cam Johnson pick at like 20, and I still think it would have been a bad pick.
See,
that's the thing. You could have moved back 8 spots, and I think it would have been a bad pick.
At 20, I would have accepted it a whole lot easier.
Oh, without a doubt.
That's my thinking.
It's way easier to swallow than 11.
Like, there was just 5 minutes of us reacting on that live stream of just, what the fuck is going on? Like, what don't we know about Cam Johnson? I know he's a great shooter. I know that he has played solid basketball under one of the best programs in college. But at the same time, how do those guys translate to the NBA again? Not so great.
Yeah.
Not so great. So, yeah, the Suns are a head-scratcher for me. Did they get their point guard, or did they get a point guard that I trust? Yes, I trust Ty Jerome. Do I think that that's a bad pick at 24? No, not terrible. But, again, it comes down to value for pick, and, I don't know, that 11 pick just throws everything off. It really does.
Yeah, I would probably say they'd be my worst, but just to differentiate from you, Golden State had the second worst pick in my mind, taking Jordan Poole at 28. I don't understand that pick at all. Take someone with a higher upside than Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole was barely a second-round prospect, and you took him at 28. You made a better pick with Eric Paschall at 41. You should have made that pick there. You should have taken Jordan Poole at 41. You could have waited that long and taken him. And hey, maybe this draft is super fucky and Jordan Poole doesn't go there, but you still could have went after a better player. You would have been gifted if Jordan Poole was off the board before you selected at 41. That would have been a gift. So I was absolutely shocked that they went with it, but they still made 2 decent picks after that, so I can't say that they're the worst picks. All right, so I'll give Golden State a little bit of credit because I do like their second-round picks, picking up Alen Samajilek, the Serbian who came over and played in their G League system. Yep. They knew a lot about him. 18 years old. Keep him in your system. I understand it. I'm fine with that pick. Eric Paschall at 41 too. I'm fine with that pick. I think I'm going to either have to settle between Washington, the Wizards, reaching on Rui Hachimura. I don't like his basketball sense. I don't think he's going to be able to develop too well. I talked about it on the podcast or on the live stream as well. I think you need more of a shooter on the outside than what he currently is. He's going to need to develop more around Bradley Beal and John Wall because those guys, John Wall especially, drive a ton. So you're going to need to clear lane space for them. I don't know if Hachimura does that. I don't know if he stretches the floor well enough, especially to play the 3. And maybe if you play him at the 4, it's a little bit easier to swallow, but I still don't think he does it effectively enough. But they picked Schofield at 42, which I think is a decent pick. But I think I'm probably going to have to settle on Orlando. And I know you love Chuma, and I know we've been on the good side of Orlando fans, but Chuma Okeke out of Auburn at 6'7". He's an interesting player, just recently tore his ACL. If he finished out and didn't tear his ACL, I think the value would have been fine at 16. I think it's just the team picking him that I think screwed up. Nikhil Alexander-Walker was still on the board, and I think that would have been the perfect player for them. They needed a combo guard. They needed especially a guy who could play the 2. They needed a guy who could shoot from the outside. Chuma can do that, but Chuma is more of a 3 in my mind. You're going with
3-4
bigger player, and you already have Jonathan Isaac. You already have Mo Bamba. You already have Nikola Vucevic if he resigns. He's going to be a free agent. You have Aaron Gordon as well. I don't understand this pick. And yes, you have Fournier, but Fournier has a contract that I think is going to be moved soon. I think he's even a free agent.
$19 million for this year and next year, I think.
Yeah, and I think that he's a contract that you could probably move decently. He's a good 3-point shooter, and I think it's probably time to move on from him because he's a little bit older than what your core is. I think you need to go younger, and Nikhil Alexander-Walker fits that core perfectly. And I think the biggest thing that it would help, too, is it takes spells away from Markelle Fultz. If Fultz is able to come back, taking the pressure off of Fultz and easing him back in would have been better. And I think going with Chuma Okeke, it was a missed opportunity. I think it was a bad pick for the Orlando Magic. You had the ability to address the 2-guard position. That was the glaring weakness of this team. Kevin Porter Jr. was available. Nikhil Alexander-Walker was available. I dislike the pick.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is with them, I agree with you. If I was them, I would have went with Nikhil Alexander-Walker, who went immediately after them to 17, where it almost feels like we're in the position of, what was it, last year, 2 years ago, where it's like, oh man, Orlando really needs a point guard. They should take a point guard. Nah, we're not going to take a point guard.
We ain't doing that. We're not falling for your silly trap.
That's what this felt like, where everyone was like, man, they really use a 2-guard. How many comment sections when we put someone, when I put Cabin Jelly, Ricky, you're an idiot. They need a 2-guard. They need a 2-guard. Go with a 2-guard. and they didn't go with a 2 guard.
They went with a 3-4.
Like,
4-3.
and in one who's injured too, where I don't think he's playing the beginning of the season because of where he got injured in March. I don't know. It would be different if they didn't make the playoffs in my mind, but this is a team that made the playoffs. Beat what now would be the defending champions next year, the Raptors, in Game 1, thanks to the supernova of offense, Terrence Ross.
Shout out.
But, I mean, it would be different if they weren't a playoff team. This was a playoff team. And that's why, to me, it's like, what are you doing here? Mm-hmm. That's why I would agree with you. I didn't like the pick. I would have went with Nikhil.
Chuma's got interesting potential, but
He does. I love him.
I don't think it's...
But the fit on the team's confusing.
Yeah.
Another fit on a team that's confusing to me is your boy Goga, or Ricky's boy Gorga.
Mm-hmm.
Going to the Pacers. That one...
I love the pick because I like the value, but you're right about
the two guys on the team already there are Miles Turner and Domantas Sabonis, and I don't know... this spells more to me that Domantas is getting moved because they're not going to pay for his contract in addition to Miles already was set up with his extension off his rookie contract, so it's just a lot of money for guys you can't play together. Mm-hmm. And Goga, we love his footwork offensively. I think that he's got a good touch on that side of the ball. Defensively, he's a big guy. He takes up a good amount of space. I think it's partially just it's a weird thing because I expect them to maybe go after somebody who could help fill them in offensively at the wing, at the 2-3 position with Oladipo coming back from a horrible injury and Bojan being up for grabs this year. I mean, it's a big question mark for me. I know there's rumors of them going after D'Lo in free agency for point guard. You drafted Aaron Holiday last year.
Yeah.
It didn't really get a chance to play much this year.
Well, you're going to have to worry about Vic coming back, too.
That's the thing. And no Tyreek Evans. I know he was terrible anyway, but point being, like, I just felt like you had a lot to address, and maybe trading down to get a couple guys to fill in some of those stopgap spots. I mean, you're going to have to really kill it in free agency. This was a team with high expectations, and I just don't understand the decision for Goga there.
Well, and that was their only pick, too, because they got rid of their 32nd pick, and they gave it to the Suns. They ended up taking T.J. Warren on, so they will have an answer kind of for Bojan leaving at the 3. So that's kind of addressed, but at least with the point guard position, you're right. But personally, the reason why I'm fine with it is just because I love Goga so much as a prospect. I didn't love Chuma that much. I thought that was more of a reach, especially when you're looking at my big board. Yep. That was about 10 spots to like 12 spots higher than I originally had him at. So that was something that I was worried about. Where Goga, I mean, he fell about 12 spots for me. So I think that's why I like the pick. And you brought up a little bit during the live stream about Sabonis' contract that's coming up soon. He's going to be an RFA soon, so they might not be able to tender him. That might be a reason why they're going with Goga. Although Turner and Goga overlap a lot positionally. They're both playing the 5.
They cannot play together. It has not worked well in Indiana for them. They're just skill set wise, it doesn't work.
Well, Sabonis and Turner.
Yeah.
But you're also thinking that the Turner and Goga is going to overlap as well?
I don't. Yeah, I say I don't really love that either. I don't. Ugh. I'm just a bunch of times. I guess I'll have to wait and see. But I would put my money on Sabonis being traded.
Final thoughts on winners and losers, or best and worst.
I got 2. One is just a quick one off of one you said. I actually like the Wizards and their draft only because I've been a little bit higher on Rui than most of us, and because Bobby Portis, does this mean they don't re-sign him? The $20 million from Jabari, do they team op it and say, hey, we are going to take you back because we need someone to fill up some cap space, or do they say, nope, walk it? He could get some playing time, especially with Scotty Brooks. I know last year Brown Jr., they didn't play the rookie that much. And I like their second-round pick, Admiral Schofield. I think he adds shooting as from the wing, like in the second round. The one that I wanted to ask you that is kind of confusing, Admiral Schofield, he can shoot from 3. He can stroke it sometimes. He's not amazing, but like he adds from the outside, and I like that as a wing.
The dude's breaking muscles in defense. I don't know about shooting.
The question that I have is, what are your thoughts on the Mavericks who traded out of the second round? They had their pick. We thought Shamori Pons. They could have even gone with a center because they got Kristaps, Dwight Powell, and Max Keebler are the right now RFA/team people signed that are bigs on their team. And they traded out, and the Bulls right after them took Daniel Gafford. So for me, it's kind of like Was there a reason why they trade out? Are they more worried about free agency than getting someone in the second round?
I think that's probably what it is just worrying about free agency. And they probably didn't love anybody. Like, yeah, they could have addressed things, but I think they're probably looking at it and, like, probably some of the guys that they liked were just going to be undrafted free agents anyway. So why waste a draft pick? Get picks in future drafts. Because, I mean, they don't have future picks next year. They have a lot tied up in the Kristaps thing, so at least you'll have some in other drafts. You obviously didn't have one in this draft because it went to the Hawks, but possibly they just didn't like this draft and wanted to get rid of it.
I also like the Knicks. Get RJ in the first, Kyle Guy in the second.
Yep. Had some good offense to that team. Sixers, I just got to toss out a quick thing. Like, Danny Ainge just fucks with you guys, right? But that's Danny Ainge's job.
Why
is just
trade
to fuck
with
the
him?
Sixers.
Like, I know you get Matisse Thybulle, but why trade with him?
Yeah,
because with your pick, he's going to take the guy you want.
He took Carson Edwards in the second round, 1 pick ahead of the Sixers.
Watching the chat, and that was fantastic.
With their own pick.
Yeah, several Sixers fans in chat just freaking out and swearing him out. It was great. I think Matisse is good, though. So we'll see. But it was just funny Danny Ainge being Danny Ainge.
Boston also got your boy, Sean. Waters at LSU.
Yeah, they got Tremont Waters, they got Carson Edwards, they got Romeo, and they got, who was the other kid they took in the first? Boston took Grant Williams. So, I mean, they did pretty decent.
Also, as we're recording this, we're 3 away from the end.
I know,
no
Naz
Reid, no Taco Fall.
Good for no Taco Fall.
Warriors, Raptors, and Kings are left.
Yep.
Well, Warriors just traded their pick to the Jazz.
And they took
Maione. So that's a good pick for the Utah Jazz. Anyways, those are our final thoughts on best and worst. Washington, I'm going to be intrigued to see how Rui fits there. But initial thoughts is I don't like it as well.
Yeah.
Rich is saying I like it, I don't like it. So let us know what you think down in the comments below. Who had the best and worst draft, and what do you think about Washington taking Rui Hachimura? Let us know down in the comments below. We're going to also say farewell to Dave. Yes, we are. So we'll say farewell to Dave.
He's got to sleep.
And Ricky and I will join you
Quick
in the next
shout
segment.
Out. Denver got Bull. You guys are my real MVP tonight. Thank you. I had a small thing on them, but you guys are doing a full segment on him later.
And shout out to Ben Feller as well. He was one of the other subscribers on our Twitch stream. So shout out to Ben Feller.
Also, you know what John's laying out in our Discord?
What's that?
Is apparently from Woj, Kawhi might meet with the Sixers.
So there you go. Let us know down in the thoughts about best and worst NBA drafts.